Josh, you know the deal here with the safeties. We're losing all of them, except for Patrick McMorris, who didn't get a chance to play last
Which
year.
I'm
But
a
Jevon
huge fan of.
Holland, what's that?
So, which I'm a huge fan of.
Right.
Yeah.
Jevon Holland, Jordan Poyer, Elijah Campbell, boom, boom, boom. Free agents, all of them.
See you later. All of them.
Do we bring anybody back?
Me? No.
All right.
Not
so
in
who
the
are you
slightest.
bringing in then? Because it's an empty room that needs some filling.
Yeah, so I am huge on quite a lot of safeties in this year's draft. I think in this year's draft, it is a very pro safety draft, right? And a few names that I have mocked to the draft or to the draft, to the Dolphins, are names like Malachi Starks out of Georgia, who I think is the best safety in this year's draft, closely followed by Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. Malachi Moore out of Alabama, and Lathan Ransom out of Ohio State. So those are kind of the 3 or 4 names of players that if we land one of them in the draft, I think we're golden, right? Excuse me. In free agency, on the other hand, there are some good names. There are some older vets. There are some okay players and so on and so forth. Names that I would like to see us bring in, Xavier Woods out of Carolina, Jeremy Chin out of Washington, I think would be a great fit, especially next to someone like not Malachi Moore, Xavier Watts or Malachi Starks. Jordan Fuller out of Carolina is another name that I kind of like. And Tony Adams out of the Jets. I think he showed well against us in both games this year. And I think he would be a good addition.
So I've seen you guys mention Malachi Starks a bunch. You guys send mock drafts in our group chat nonstop, which I love. It takes me a long time to catch up to it. I have to scroll back up a while after when I finally see it. But I do read every one. And Malachi Starks, I have noticed, has appeared in Used To's mock draft. I went New Yorker on you.
I like it.
Pretty much every mock draft you guys have done. What is the appeal of Malachi Starks? Why is he the guy who's going to start for us? Why is he our new Jevon Holland?
I mean, look, he's the most pro-ready run defender in the entire safety group. So he is. So the reason I like Starks and Watts, they're two. If we drafted both of them, they would both be our starters. One would be a free safety, one would be a strong safety. Starks, for me, is more of that Jevon Holland in the box safety. That does not take away from his ability to cover. I think he's fast. He's 6'1". He runs a 4.3. I mean, stud across the board, right? Just great. He's remarkable at just about everything he does. Xavier Watts, on the other hand, 6 foot, runs a 4.5, but is that kind of field general, hangs back, surveys the land, and then bam, is the missile that comes in at the last minute to get the interception or to take someone's head off. Those are the 2 players that I'm a huge fan of, and I hope we land one of them.
I love it, decapitating safety.
Oh.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Taylor, what do you do? Do you agree with Josh's assessment there?
Well, I don't want it to be understated how much Josh has been a fan of Malachi Starks. Between him and Kelvin Banks, the tackle/guard from Texas, those are Josh's guys so far. I'm a big fan of Malachi Starks as well. I'm a big fan of Xavier Watts. Starks might only criticism, I don't want to say criticism, but the only thing I don't really like with this game is there are times where I wish he would be a little more aggressive in the tackling department. I'm not saying he's a bad tackler. He's not. You can
had 77 tackles grades last year, right?
Yeah, you can look at the film, the PFF grades, all that stuff. He is a good tackler. But on film, there are a few moments where you're like, oh, man, I wish you'd just hit it from a different angle, and he would have been perfect. But that being said, he moves around. You can put this dude in the slot. You can put him at free safety, strong safety. There was a lot of Kyle Hamilton. Yeah,
exactly. I will say he does, in my opinion, his weakest kind of attribute is his man press, right? I don't think he's very good at it, but that's more technique than anything else.
And Xavier
Kyle
Watts,
Hamilton, dude. So I'm over here dreaming now.
And Xavier Watts too. He has this propensity to find the play. I can't really explain it. You just have to see Notre Dame play him every time. It'll be like, who the hell is this guy? Okay, he has the ball now, and you're over here watching Ben Morrison, and you'll find Xavier Watts all over the field. So
I mean, he had 6 interceptions, right? 6 interceptions, 8 pass defense. He had 136, if I remember right, interception yards returned. 67 total tackles. And we're talking about Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame here. The perfect free safety, in my opinion.
And the thing, too, is I think a theme for me, like talking about as a primer for free agency in the draft here, something that I hope has come across is like finding players that could change the identity of the offense or defense. I think Starks and Watts could do that, especially for the safeties.
So an empty safety room is a problem, right? That means we need to sign at least 3 players for that position, or potentially move guys who we already have, or sign, draft guys, whatever. In the event that Jevon Holland is not looking for deal-breaking money, which we all believe he is looking for in the top 5% between, let's say he's looking for between 13 and 16 million a year. That's a lot of money that we probably don't want to spend on a safety who just had one of his worst seasons ever. What's the point you're looking at where you're comfortable with us bringing back Holland? Like, is there a dollar figure? Is there anything where you're just like, okay, he had a bad year. Maybe it's Jordan Poyer. He's trying to do too much, blah, 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 blah. Like, is there anything within you that is okay with potentially bringing Holland back, Taylor?
This is going to sound bad because we've all been critical of Jevon Holland at the end of the season. But I will say, as much as we're fans of Malachi Starks, Xavier Watts, and a few other safeties in this class, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, we got Patrick McMorris under roster. That's it. Like, we need people on this. We need people in this room. So when you look at the free agent market, you got like Jeremy Chin from the Commanders, Trevon Moehrig from the Raiders. I got to say, like, I was looking at the free agent class and I was going, yeah, I guess we need to try to re-sign Jevon Holland, hope the market's not that big.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to break the bank for Jevon Holland. But if it's a case where people are looking at the draft and going, we're just going to draft a safety, maybe it could be a thing where Holland signs a 1-year deal back with the Dolphins and be like, I'll try again next year. He's a very young player, still has a ton of potential. I don't think it's the end of the world if he doesn't get the big contract in this offseason.
And this right here, what Armando's saying, is 100% true. And this,
100%.
You lose the fans every time you do this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not playing 100%, we saw this early in the season, pulling up, not hitting the hole, not hitting the runner. It was a really bad season for Holland. We've beat that horse so much it's beyond dead at this point. It's just bone. But
I will say this though, right? And I do think Holland's productivity on the field is directly related to who plays next to him.
Yeah,
and there's no accidentally understanding that, right? I mean, if you look at how well he played his rookie year, his second year, look at who was next to him. He had a better safety partner than Jordan Poyer, right? I think I would have been a better safety partner than Jordan Poyer. Yeah. And I think if we can bring someone in, whether it's we re-sign him and grab one of the rookies with one of our top 2 picks, right? Top 3 picks, I think our safety room is marketably better, right? But according to everything I've read and everything I've heard so far, and it hasn't changed, and I believe where there's smoke, there's fire. He wants a market resetting contract. I'm sorry, you're not worth it, dude.
And that's just insane to me. I mean, the highest average per year for a safety is Antoine Winfield. He makes $21 million a year. But there's not a lot of guys. Nobody else makes over $20 million for a safety. So it's like, do you really believe you're worth $22 million a year after the season you just had?
Yeah, it's wild. And I will say this. We've said, Armando, we've said this, all of us have multiple times on the show. If this is the product that you're putting out in a contract year, no, thank you. Right.
I will say, I'm going to go to the free agent pool for a second because the guy that stood out to me has been injured the past 2 seasons, but had an absolute monster season in 2022. He's over in San Francisco. His name is also hard to say, so Taylor's going to love him. Talanoa Hufanga.
Yeah. Oh, he's a free agent?
Is a free agent this year.
Oh, okay, never
so
mind.
Good.
Boys,
add him to my list.
Look at these stats in 2022. 97 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, 9 pass deflections, 8 run stuffs, and a touchdown. That's an amazing season for a safety. His second year in the NFL. The past 2 seasons, he's missed a combined 17 games. That's a bit of a problem. But we have an empty safety room, And if a guy's looking for a chance to stay in the NFL, hey, we're wide open, bud. We could use a playmaker. Come on down. Let's see what you can do in Miami. That guy stood out to me the most on this free agent list.
So we're just building a glass cannon
Oh,
defense.
baby, let's go. It's all. Listen,
Yeah, we're either putting high schoolers out there or we're putting Pro Bowlers out there, ladies and gentlemen.
You either get the kill shot or you miss completely. There's no in between.
Yeah, another name I like is Quandre Diggs out of Tennessee, right? I think he'd be a great fit next to someone.
Yeah. I was just going to go back to Poyer one last time and be like, the funny part about Poyer and why it didn't work out here is like 2 years ago, when Poyer went to the Dolphins, probably would have been a really good deal. Like he fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
This season.
And also decided to open his big fat mouth before the season. I'll never let that go.
I'll never let it go.
I'll never let it go.
Listen, I think the other free agent, I think Taylor, you mentioned it, Trayvon Moehrig is not a bad option either. He's had a resurgence here these past 2 years. I think he's looked really good.
TCU.
There you go. Horned Frog.
I think, right? Really, TCU?
I don't know. I'm just trying to guess what their mascot is over here.
No, Horned Frog. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I nailed it. There you go.
Yeah.
That's from playing that NCAA football that came out.
There you go. So that's one way of learning the draft.
Yeah, I should go back to playing that now and update the rosters. Then I'll learn all the players. There we go. Cheat code. All right. So that's the safety room. And that's the defense, boys. We have fixed the Miami Dolphins defense in just 1 hour and 12 minutes. We are geniuses. Like, geez.
Chris Greer, who?